Hi and welcome to the show. My name's Topher and today I'm joined by Rachel, by Daisy and by Will. We're going to have a bit of a chat about the week's news and some of the things that have stood out to us and what we think about the issues that are going on today. So, Rachel, I'm going to start with you. What's something that really caught your eye this week?
I was pretty annoyed this morning when I opened the news to find that we have yet again another new tax. So this one is...
Taxes.
So this one will be a tax on people who don't use the NBN network. So you'll get an extra, I think $7.30 on your bill every month.
So I saw this. Explain it to me. You get taxed for not doing something now.
Yeah, basically, yes. So we've already spent $80 billion on the NBN.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't like that, well, it doesn't matter. You don't have to use it. But if you don't use it, well, you're going to have to pay anyway. You're going to have to pay another $7.30 per month.
No, it's bogus. But they said that, you're going to pay an extra $7.50 if you don't use the government's provider. If you use someone else who's providing NBN services, and the money that's raised from this tax is now going to be used to fund...
the regional network.
Yeah, to fund NBN services out in the regions. Now, and it comes to economics, it makes sense to build something where everybody lives and make it work, and then work out how we're going to get it into the regions.
Absolutely, but this also, the NBN never made sense to start with, and experts were coming out right from the beginning saying, the 8-year timeline that this was supposed to be built in, which it never will be.
Yeah.
But even if they'd been on time, the NBN technology would have been 50% obsolete by the time the thing was built. And we're already seeing that. So 5G has now been tested in a live environment. This happened last week. They had a vehicle with 5G technology working in it, and they were getting gigabits upon gigabits of throughput. Now that's a single device. I understand dedicated technology and so forth. Once that bandwidth is divided between lots of devices, it'll go down. But we're still talking 20 to 100 times faster than 4G.
Totally.
The NBN, hardwired, is going to be obsolete before they've even finished rolling it out.
I did see that story about the 5G bit, and I was giggling with anticipation. Finally, we're going to get decent internet in this country.
Yeah. And it's not going to be going through any of this infrastructure that we spent how much on?
$80 billion so far.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And don't forget, they keep revising it. Like when Rudd announced that it was going to come out, we're going to have it by this year, it was going to cost this much, and they revised that when Turnbull was the comms manager, communications minister.
The thing is, what gets me, surely Kevin Rudd back then would have realised that the technology would have moved on in 8 years. That's what gets me. There is no way, given the rate that technology progresses at the moment, that they wouldn't have realised that something else would have been invented. Yet they still went ahead with this plan, and now there's a new tax if you don't use it. You just wonder what was going through their heads.
But they're not spending their money. So they're not thinking about it the way that you and I would if we were actually spending our... Well, I mean, they're spending our money. So... Anyway, Daisy, what's something that caught your eye this week?
Well, something that caught my eye that was very interesting was the University of Melbourne introduced some male privilege workshops. Yes, male privilege workshops.
What do you learn in a male privilege workshop?
Well, apparently, according to the organisers, it was an opportunity for women and minority students to air their concerns about they being interrupted in class, in tutorials by white male students who are allegedly taking all the attention. And the workshops encouraged white male students to speak more like women and think more like women and assess if they're going to say something, whether or not it's constructive.
Patronising.
Did they actually say it like that?
Yes.
I'm sorry, who's the sexist now?
I know.
Exactly.
I know, it's appalling, and it's this silly idea that men in society are somehow privileged over women, which is a very sort of middle class view. When you look, the argument is, there are more CEOs and politicians that are men, therefore male privilege. But no, if you look at society as a whole, most men are not CEOs or politicians. Most men are, middle class, working class, blue-collar workers with the higher rate of suicide. 95% of workplace deaths are men, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Most military deaths are men. They work all the worst jobs. Less than 1% of trash collectors and sewer pipe cleaners are women, which you don't hear boo about from the feminists.
I am all for equality in those jobs first.
Likewise.
Let's start it there.
Absolutely.
But the part that just rubbed me the wrong way was that here we are talking about male privilege, and that you've got to bring yourself down, diminish yourself, and to your point earlier, where when the water level rises, everyone rises. We want to have men who are now being meek and talking small about themselves. Yet when we were kids, it was all about confidence. Be yourself. when I remember when I was in my late teens and really hitting the dating pool, it was like, chicks dig confidence. I mean, that's what you want to have. And now it's like, oh, no, now you're too confident.
Yeah,
Pull
I
it back
just
a few
think it's a
notches.
bit absurd to teach people to be confident and say, no, not that confident.
Yeah.
Why don't, instead of telling like men to be less confident, why don't maybe we teach women to be confident and speak out and have your own view?
Well, that's a microaggression. You can't do that. That's a microaggression. You're not allowed to tell women that, because this is what is so puzzling about feminism today. Is it's like they think women should be treated like they were in 1850. It's this sort of couch fainting feminism that every little thing is going to annoy them, and it's this weird sort of bourgeois attitude. Because if you look at working class women, they don't have any time for that.
Yeah.
They're too busy working 3 jobs to take care of their 4 kids and paying off a mortgage.
The one. So I had an incident at work the other week where, this sort of discussion came up, and one of my colleagues said that to someone else, and she said, "Look, I don't really agree with all that feminism stuff." And she was taken aback. She's like, thought everyone was kind of on this third wave feminism sort of thing. And I think the issue that movement's going to have is that who's it speaking to? If you're talking to a suburban mom who's looking after a family, she probably doesn't see these microaggressions and this sort of masculine oppression that keeps getting dictated to them. And it's a fugazi. It's nothing at the moment. And I don't see it's going to catch on in the way it has in the United States. Heaven forbid it doesn't happen here. Otherwise, we've got a lot of trouble.
Well, interesting though, actually, I was talking to an American woman. She's a policy analyst to that point, and she actually said, and this is frightening, she said that feminist push is actually more hardwired in Australia than it is in America, because America has that sort of middle America traditionalism. They're not afraid of, traditional gender roles. They haven't demonized them as much as they have here. So there isn't that core in Australia to actually keep that sort of rabid feminism in check, which is a worry.
I just think the focus is wrong. We should focus on bringing women up. If you call yourself a feminist, which I would, but I don't want to be associated with people who just want to drag men down.
This lowest common denominator kind of philosophy.
And I think it's a terrible shame that feminism has been hijacked by extremists. Because I used to happily call myself a feminist in the egalitarian sense of the word, which most reasonable people are. But you certainly can't be a conservative woman and be a feminist now. They will just kick you out. And it's gone beyond being egalitarian to sort of female supremacy and special treatment. And I don't subscribe to that, and you don't subscribe to that.
Absolutely
and most
not.
women don't.
All right, moving on. Will, what have you seen this week?
I want to talk about fat kids.
Fat kids.
Yes.
Fat kids.
Okay.
So there was 2 things this week that really grind my gears, got to me. So, okay, the first one was it was a piece sort of on the tail end of last week. It was in the Herald Sun. It was about the affordability of fast food compared to fresh food, and kids that were going to tuck shops and they're buying cheap junk food as opposed to an apple or a salad or rabbit food. And then dovetailing that into a piece that showed up a couple of days ago, was it I don't know if it was an athlete or something, but it was basically a call for kids to have standing desks in schools.
It was
an Olympian.
Yeah.
So it was a call for standing desks. We should have kids drop off areas, further away from the school, so kids are normalized with walking down
and they get
down
more
the block.
Incidental exercise.
If you're a fat kid, 100 meters of walking isn't going to make you lose weight.
Hang on. No. This is genius. Okay, for overweight adults, they should be mandated. They're not allowed to have a washing machine. They've got to go back to doing like the old washerboards.
Yes,
all right.
yes, incidental exercise.
Think of how
Absolutely.
this could just transform
They
society.
should ban those lawnmowers that you can sit on. It's got to be back.
We
back
had
to
the
old
push
school.
ones when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was a boy.
Not even that. Let's get people with plows again.
Yes.
Turn the field.
Yes. I
Turn the
agree.
field.
Everybody was fit.
Everyone was thin back then.
Yeah.
It was fat. There was
Exactly. It was great. Look, instead of being fat and overweight, we all had scurvy and we were malnourished. But we were out there. We were being fit.
Yes.
Cardio was.
I didn't have a 6-pack from going to the gym. I had a 6-pack because I was so thin. My skin was just clinging to my malnourished body.
I mean, it's a bit absurd. I think if you look at the ABS statistics on childhood obesity, it's been around a quarter of the population for like 20 years or something. It's increased very slightly, but it's pretty dishonest to call it an epidemic.
Yeah.
And can we just stop for a moment and acknowledge how awesome it is to be a part of the first generation in history where being fat is associated with poor people? Can we, like, no, seriously, I'm serious.
No, that's true.
It's true.
That's true.
At what other point in history have poor people been able to consume enough calories to get fat? It hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
Now, I'm all for losing a bit of weight. I'm in the process of doing that right now. I've lost about 10 kilos in the last 6 weeks.
I have.
I
was going to
noticed.
say that.
I
You have. You're
you
good.
didn't say anything, so I thought I had to bring it up.
No,
you know?
I noticed when I walked in.
So I'm not sitting here saying we should just, everyone should just get fat. But let's just stop and appreciate the fact that you and I, if we get hungry and we need some nourishment, can rock up to any one of literally thousands upon thousands of places, hand over a couple of bucks and get given food.
Rock up, man. Dude, no, it's on your app.
Yeah.
I can pay a guy to bring me
comes to
food
my
now.
house.
Okay, I'm out of date. You're right.
Well, how much is a soft serve ice cream from Macca's, from McDonald's?
I don't
It's
even
like
know.
50
I don't know.
cents.
Like a
Is it-
dollar? I don't
Yeah,
Is
know.
it a
like-
buck now? I don't know.
something like that.
I remember being secretly outraged when a Happy Meal went from $1.95 in the late 90s to $2.15.
Oh,
It's
you
like
poor thing.
outrageous.
Appalling.
But no, it's kind of, and this is the thing with the way this country is now. It's like government's got to step in and make these people thin again. And it's why did the drop-off zone exist at the school? It's because mum, dad, whoever's dropping you off is on the way to work. They want to throw the kid out the car, know that they're going straight into school, and then get out of there because they're going to make it
Is
to
that
work
not
by
a
9.
safety concern, making the safe drop-off zone further from the school?
Yeah, that's true.
Who's going to monitor the travel
But,
environment?
but this is
chaperones or
this is
something?
the problem. So someone says that we need to have more staff to monitor and police the drop-off zone because the kids are walking further. Come on.
And then
But
there's
who's
the
gonna
cost
pay
of
for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It gets more and more absurd, and it's taking away the responsibility. Frankly, it's the parents.
Yeah.
If you don't want fat kids, feed them right. And I know that life is hard and people are short on time, but you got to make that effort. That's your responsibility of raising kids. We didn't have a whole lot of fatty foods at home, and Mum always made us make sure that we were eating right, and we were a single parent family.
Yeah.
And Mum took great responsibility there, and it took its toll over time, but we got there. And it's like, if you're going to say that we can't have a party pie or a sausage roll in the canteen and everything's going to be salad, we're making kids joyless.
Yeah.
There was nothing better than a lick stick that was 30 cents
Yeah.
at the tuck shop.
Yeah.
It
It's
really
so
rubbed me.
I
exciting
remember
to be
that.
able to go to the tuck shop and get like a treat. I mean, maybe it would be concerning if that's what I ate every day, but as a child, 90% of the time, my mum packed my lunch and it was probably healthy. And when I got like tuck shop food, I wanted it to be like a saucy pie. That's
Yeah.
what you want,
Special.
something
Or like
special.
a cheese roll, because
Yeah.
my mum always packed, beautiful healthy lunches. Until I was 5, I thought that a lolly was a dried apricot. Like literally, they'd lure me away
You've
from
been
the
lied
plate.
to all
and
your
I
life.
was lied to until I got to school, but it was true. If you've been good, mum and dad would give you 20 cents, and this is amazing. You'd go and
I'm
you'd
rich.
choose. I'm rich, and you'd choose that little treat, and you'd have one of those a week. And it would be fine.
Back when lollies were 1 cent each.
I
The
know.
good
Oh.
old days. Rachel, what else have you seen this week?
Actually, I saw that a guy in Queensland just got fined $360-ish for not wearing a seatbelt while getting his boat out of the water. He drove 10 or 15 meters in his car. $360. How on earth is that for your own safety? It's absurd.
Well,
it's
this-
just blatant revenue raising, isn't it?
Well, every time we see a new law being written and people look at the law and go, oh, that really could go a bit far. That could be a bit too restrictive or a bit too extreme. The argument back is always, yes, but the police or the enforcers will use their judgment. They're not going to enforce it when it's ridiculous to enforce it. Of course they wouldn't do that. And then we see stories like this, where a little bit of common sense, you don't have to be a boatie to understand the need to urgently get your boat out of the water once you're at that critical moment. I mean, where is the common sense in this?
It's nuts. It's absolutely
Crazy.
nuts. But the fact that a policeman would be so duty bound instead of offering to help the guy.
Oh, there's
a community
Yeah.
offering some community service.
That's a very good
Help
point.
the guy. It's like, oh man,
This will be great.
having some trouble there, buddy? Yeah, I bet you are. You're gonna love this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what are the policemen's priorities here? And Queensland's been a basket case for the cops for a while, but this is just so far beyond absurd. I mean, you know, people are bringing it up just to mock them. I mean, a cop isn't supposed to be mocked like that. It's supposed to be supported.
It's clearly not a safety issue. Who are they helping? Nobody.
Power tripping, my friends. That's what you can put it down to.
Yeah.
Someone was having a bad day, hadn't had his coffee, and thought he'd take it out on some poor soul who's just trying to move his boat.
At 5 kilometers an hour.
Yep.
On a
Stunning.
boat ramp, not even on the road with other vehicles flying around. On
Like
a boat ramp.
in what's basically a car park. Yeah.
Daisy, what else have you seen?
Well, look, as I'm sure we've all seen this week, Donald Trump made a rather wonderful address at NATO.
Yeah. Were you like this the whole way through?
I was like this the whole way through. No, it was a very good speech. It was very sort of measured, and the tone was measured, but then he got about halfway through and he started ripping into the other world leaders who are part of NATO about the fact they're not paying enough into the alliance, which he said was terribly unfair on the American taxpayer.
I actually agree with him
I agree
on
with
that
him
point.
too.
For me, the jury is very much out. If we just zoom back to the Trump question, I don't share your enthusiasm.
I don't love everything about him.
Sure.
Not everything.
However, on this particular point, I think he's absolutely right. And one of the things that has mystified me as I've sort of grown over the last few decades, I'm ex-reserve military here in Australia and had a little bit to do with that side of things. Never deployed. I'm not claiming any credit for that, but I had to think about defence, and I had to think about what is our role in our own defence, etc., because I was putting myself potentially on the line. Never had to, thankfully. So one of the mysteries to me was how 50 and 60 years after the end of World War II, America still has so many troops in Germany, so many troops in Japan, so many troops keeping the peace all over the world, and the cost to the American taxpayer cannot be justified in terms of whatever benefits you want to argue. So I'm surprised this hasn't come up earlier, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing about Donald Trump, is that he brings stuff like that up, and that's why, I mean, like, say what you will about him, you know, the foot in mouths, the wonderfully tactful sarcasm. He's honest about things like that. And, you know, I mean, I saw a whole lot of stuff on the internet going, oh my gosh, Donald Trump insulted our allies. Well, every ordinary American is going, damn right.
Yeah.
Damn right. And their reactions were just so funny.
I just cannot get behind Trump. I just cannot. He's such a loose cannon. And what he said is not even actually true. Like, there is no requirement for 2%. It's a recommendation, and they have several more years to implement that. I think it was something like 2024. So he's having a go at people for not doing something that they don't have to do in the time frame that was much shorter than specified.
I think it's great politics in that sense, that it's, you know, here is these, you know, socialist Europeans having another land of the American taxpayer, and if you're in the Rust Belt, it took her derbs.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it motivates his voter base.
He knows his audience.
Well, it's good politics, you know, and if it's about, okay, how can we try and get some of the other parties to pay their fair share, pay their way. I'm not going to use fair share. That's the last thing we're going to talk about is fairness. Otherwise, we'll be here all afternoon.
What fair share, though? This is all money taken involuntarily from taxpayers. None of this money is taken fairly.
Agree.
Yeah.
But is the money taken from American taxpayers being spent on European defence any more fair? You know, that's even less fair.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
We're breaking your
maybe
recommendation. We're talking about fairness now.
Maybe the problem is not that the other countries are not paying enough. Maybe America is paying too much. Maybe we shouldn't be spending so much money.
I would agree. And why can't France defend it? Well, okay,
the French can't defend themselves.
I correct myself. Bad example. But why can't we actually say to these countries, when I say we, why can't America say to these countries, hey, you've got 6 years to sort yourselves out, because we are beginning a drawdown effective next year, and in 6 years' time you'll have none of our people left to protect you if someone starts a shooting war. I don't see why that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Especially given the US government deficits that they're running right now.
Yeah. Wasn't that part of, if not the plan in Iraq and Afghanistan, that they were going to train up local armies to be able to defend themselves, and they all fell apart?
Okay.
It's kind of like this dependence upon US military might, because they're great armies, to look after others. But I mean, I won't.
They're shipping in soldiers from other countries, from Africa at the moment, and paying them nothing. They're not. It's not even. I mean, there obviously are a lot of American people.
About?
Yeah, in the Middle East.
Okay.
Of course, there are a lot of American people there, but they're also, you know, shipping in soldiers from Africa and paying them nothing to do their dirty work.
And on that happy note, Will,
Not happy
what
note.
else have you got?
Okay, another one that I really wanted to touch on was about cultural appropriation. Don't know if you guys saw what happened in Portland, in Oregon, in the United States this week. 2 enterprising young women went down to Ecuador. They sell the local women making burritos. They said, this is fantastic. Let's bring this idea back and let's start up a burrito shop. Sounds rather innocuous. Doesn't sound like it's headline grabbing. Until the Portland newspaper ran a story about it, and then Twitter went nuts, and then all of the lefties went nuts over the fact that they had culturally appropriated the food and cuisine of brown people, and that they had profiteering off their culture. And these women who had started the store were white. So what was amazing? You had a couple of had 2 women being attacked by other feminists for cultural appropriation who'd started a business selling burritos.
Well, I mean, I worked in a shop that served coffee and pizza, and I don't have a drop of Italian blood in me. So am I guilty now too?
Pizza's my favorite food. Am I racist for culturally appropriating Italian food?
Where do you draw the line on
If
this?
that's cultural appropriation, I want cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Well,
it's just it's like the concept of cultural appropriation. It is the most absurd concept. And I understand the argument of maybe not dressing as a Native American girl for Halloween. I understand why people might get annoyed by that. But it has got to the point where, I mean, another example was at a university in the US, the black activists sent an email around to everyone saying that white girls on campus needed to stop wearing hoop earrings because that was cultural appropriation.
But it's like cultures become enriched and improved by meshing with each other, and it's not a mathematical formula. It is throw everything in a pot and see what comes out.
Yeah.
Usually, what comes out is excellent food.
Absolutely.
But also potentially terrible. I mean, because of cultural appropriation, Pizza Hut, it was Pizza Hut or Domino's made that ridiculous pasta that had beef patty in the. In the crust. I mean, that's the bad side of when cultures clash, right? You got American beef patties and Italian pizza.
But we had fun, and
this is what happens. And you're talking about Melbourne, where you've got all these students here studying, and they're working in McDonald's, in KFC, in salsas, in Greek restaurants, in Italian restaurants. Some of them might be as white as bed sheets, or some of them might be from Asia studying here. Doesn't matter where you're from. These guys want jobs. And if we're saying that, this restaurant can't exist, this Greek restaurant can't exist because my waiter's Chinese, that kid just wants a job. He doesn't care. It's like, dude, do you want a souvlaki and chips?
Yeah.
Right?
And
I think it's so excellent that we have these opportunities to learn about other cultures.
Yes.
Exactly.
And you have to just use a little common sense. Like, you don't dress in, Native American clothes and you don't wear blackface, but come on, making burritos.
Yeah, come on.
It's got to have a little common sense.
I think if anything, it's enriching for someone's experience of that culture to then, I'm going to start a burrito store. You'll probably appreciate Latin culture a lot more than just going to the store and buying a burrito.
And what's really interesting is that it's the whole idea of pointing the finger for cultural appropriation is very sort of white-centric. I mean, they go on about white people doing this. Okay, what if a person from China decided to eat a burrito or wear a sombrero? Is that racist? Is that cultural appropriation?
Look at Hong Kong, look at South Korea, look at Japan. They have appropriated the way we build skyscrapers. They've appropriated the way we dress. They've appropriated an enormous number of products. I mean, China are literally appropriating American technologies and manufacturing them over there without our permission. How come they're not all up in arms about this?
I know.
Because this is part of our culture.
Yeah, the doubles. But Steve, no. White culture doesn't count though, because white people are awful. But according to everyone.
Here's the fascinating thing to me. looking at someone else's culture or something in their culture and saying, hey, that's awesome, and I would love to be able to have that in my life.
What a
That's a compliment.
That's a
Yeah.
good thing.
How is this a bad...
Exactly.
It's,
Yeah.
it's
not.
inclusive. It's not divisive.
Yeah.
Whereas the culture appropriation, dividing people into tribes, is harmful.
Yeah,
It is
but-
harmful.
I'll disagree with what you said earlier, Rach.
Hmm.
I think I'm going to pull a line straight out of South Park.
Yes.
Either all of it's okay or none of it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that it's all right to open a burrito stand if you're white. Just as much as I think it's okay if you love, say for example, if you want to wear a Native American headdress to a Halloween costume party, go nuts. I'm not gonna get cranky at you about that. I also go as far as to say that in Perth a couple of years ago, there was a school thing. He was I think he was less than 10. He dressed up for a school event. Come as your hero. He went as Nick Nat Nui, who is I think he's a PNG or an Islander AFL player.
Yeah.
And so he went, and it started off as blackface. And I was like,
The
this
poor
is
kid.
this kid is
That
10,
was
dressing
awful.
up as
Yeah.
his hero, and he doesn't even understand the concept of blackface, doesn't understand the concept of racism,
Yeah.
and you're now telling him it is not okay to dress like your hero. So
And-
there's a degree here. Cultural appropriation is one part, blackface is another. If you're being mean-spirited about doing blackface, then we have problems.
And what's
But if you're a kid,
yeah.
you know,
And it's the mean spirit that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
not
The
the blackface.
malice. And the response to that was there was an Aboriginal woman, and this went viral on the internet, who painted her daughter white and said how ridiculous it was that this little kid and his parents were being vilified, because she said it's great for Indigenous people if this white kid, if this white kid is...
If you see them as your hero.
She said that's great for us, and so she said this is ridiculous. I'm sorry for the kid. She painted her daughter white, put her daughter in whiteface.
And that's essentially what you're saying to that kid in his young mind is you're not allowed to have a hero who's a different skin colour. than you.
Yes.
And that's dangerous.
That's, I mean, how toxic.
That's
But that-
concerning.
But that's
That's
and
awful.
that's the when all of these concepts that adults put together, and these weirdos that come up with stuff like cultural appropriation, push it on kids. They're just getting confused. Like, I just really liked this football player. I'm sorry I've caused all these problems.
I think he's cool.
So,
Yeah, he's
I mean,
That's all kids think.
In my view, all of it's okay or none of it's okay, and the trend of people wanting to go down to none of it's okay, I'd rather have carte blanche. And then if someone's being a jerk, then you call them out and say that's not appropriate.
I would agree with you on that. I love that episode of South Park. I know the one you're talking about. Either all of it's okay or none of it's okay.
Yeah.
That's the rule to
I think we're
live
going to quote a lot of that in this show.
by. I love to do that. I love South Park.
Well, I think we've completed the trifecta. We broke Godwin's law. We've now quoted South Park. And what was the other thing?
Oh,
Don't know.
there was something else, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
there was a third
something
thing.
else.
We'll work it out.
Yeah.
That's not bad for
If
a
we don't
first
have it, we'll
episode.
cut it
Yes.
Yeah, it's not bad for a first episode. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've had as much fun as we have, and we will see you next time.
Cool.
Cool.
Do we have to do a clean break or anything?
As in,
I don't know. How do you
I just
finish
smiled
up?
real awkwardly
Yeah.
at the camera.
Okay.
so
Right.
yeah, usually what you do is wait without making sound for about 5 seconds. But you said cool straight away. But that's okay. I'll make it work.
We should leave this bit in and then do a 5-second break.
Okay,
I
you
think
ready?
that's a good idea.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
All right.